It's April Fool's Day. Beware the smart Alex out there that may try to trick you in some way. Our Darren Gant with the tweet last night, PSA for all amateur comedians, getting ready for a big tomorrow. Much like the special occasion drinkers on New Year's and St. Patrick's Day, your attempt is neither sufficient nor necessary. No, seriously, it's really not funny. Don't hit send. Please do not do the April Fool's gags. We beg you, do not do the April Fool's gags. And in honor of April Fool's Day, real NFL stories that we thought were fake when we first heard of them. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and give you the first pick. I don't think there's a trivia question, so I think you get the first pick. I'm in a good mood today for a change.
Okay, that's good. All right, there's some good ones actually, and I think the first one I'm going to go with that I think totally shocked me. I'm going to go with Barry Sanders retiring after 9 years in the NFL. That's one to me where I'll still look at it and go, man, Barry Sanders was still arguably the best running back in the game, certainly in the conversation. You're going, oh, man, he's on the arc. He's going to be the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. What? He's retiring? He's still like in his A-minus game. I mean, he was still electric and untackable. That's not even a word, but you couldn't tackle him
Close
in
enough.
space. Okay, yeah, it's close enough. He still had tremendous long speed and quicks. And, I just really didn't see a drop off in his game at all. To me, that was one of the shockers of all time with Barry Sanders retiring.
I agree with you, but let me just say this. And I wasn't in the business at the time, so I wasn't privy to the whispers and the rumors that something was going on, but there was talk that something was going on. And Barry Sanders wired a little differently than other football players. It really wasn't one of those things where when it happened, it was like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, you know what? It kind of makes sense. Where the Lions are, where they've been, where the Vikings were at the time in the process of taking over the division with Randy Moss entering his second year, it made sense when you sat down and thought about it. And it happened not long before training camp, so we had time to process it before week one. The one that I think is the clear number one pick is the Andrew Luck retirement, because none of those factors was there. There was no reason to think Andrew Luck was retiring. There were no whispers he was thinking about retiring. It caught everyone off guard, and it happened 2 weeks before the season started. And it was that classic burned into your memory. I know exactly where I was. My wife and I were in New York for our anniversary. We were at a show. I turned my phone on, and the first thing I see, it's like somebody hacked our Twitter account. There's no way Andrew Luck's retired. That one I'll never forget. And I still don't understand it to this day, how he could walk away from football when he still had so much to give and so much to play. Intensely personal decision, but still shocking when it happened.
Shocking. I mean, so shocking that I was sitting there watching TV with my father and had a friend in the house, and we're sitting there. I can't remember what we were watching at the time, but he goes, hey, did you guys just see that breaking news on the bottom? He goes, Andrew Luck's retiring. And we all looked at him like, oh, shut up, dude. You don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, you need to rewind it. And, we had to rewind the DVR. So that was a shocker. There's no doubt about it. And I did not have that on my list. So good job by you. All right, here's really the all-time shocker. I mean, this is the all-time shocker. What? There's a police chase involving O.J. Simpson? Okay, I don't mean to go.
Challenge flag. What are you doing?
Nah.
He was retired for 15 years.
I
Oh,
don't
my
care.
gosh.
Hall of Famer.
All
He was jumping cars and, car commercials and everything. Yes, that was a shocker of all time. I could still remember I was at a pool party in 8th grade, and like one of the parents coming out going, O.J. Simpson's in like a high-speed car chase with the police, and you're like, what? And just going inside watching that was one of the most unbelievable events of my lifetime. I will never forget that and everything that, came after it. But a shocker, because O.J. Simpson had a squeaky clean image to that point. I really looked up to him, thought he was awesome. So that, to me, will always go down all time.
And maybe you were busy at the time doing things that 13-year-olds do, or doing things that 13-year-old Chris Sims did, but that story had already developed to the point where it was the next logical step. The walls were closing in on him. That wasn't.
Stop being such a lawyer. You didn't think he was going to get in a police chase and go down the highway for 4 hours. You didn't think that. That was a surprise. Yes, I know there was inklings that we thought, ooh, maybe he was guilty, but we didn't think that was going to happen.
But I didn't refuse to believe it. It wasn't a surprise in that context because of everything else that was happening. All right, next one for me, Brett Favre unretiring in 2008. I remember he was on David Letterman's show in April, and he made a comment like, who knows how I'm going to feel when July rolls around. And that was the first time I thought, really, could there be a chance? But even when it happened, and there was another one where I remember exactly where I was. We had a family trip to Washington, D.C. We were at the zoo, for crying out loud. And on my phone came the word that Brett Favre had unretired and he intends to rejoin the Green Bay Packers, and it ended up being a huge, giant mess for a couple of days or longer while the Packers figured out what to do with him. But that one did come out of the blue. We'd always known he was going to retire. We never thought he was going to unretire, and he unretired so many times, we're kind of used to it. That first one, though, was a stunner.
It was a stunner, but to be a jerk like you, so I can challenge you a little bit, all right? I mean, he had threatened retirement for many years before that.
He never threatened to unretire.
I know he didn't. I know, but I had to be a lawyer for a second either way, because you're gonna sit here and try to crap on every one of my picks. All right,
stick to football.
Stick to football. All right, so you hit one story from last summer with Andrew Luck. I'm going to last summer too. I forgot about this. I got a little help from Pete Dimalitalitis, one of our producers back there. Okay, but this was a shocker, and one of those, when you saw the news, you were like, no way can that be true. Antonio Brown's foot issue. That to me was like an all-time. When I heard that story, I was like, first off, what is going on with his feet? And then when I had people tell me in the know that, hey, he actually froze the bottom of his feet off going in a cryotherapy machine, I didn't want to believe it, even though I knew the people that were telling me knew exactly that had happened. That is just absolutely unbelievable to me. That's one of the most amazing stories here in recent history in the NFL. One of our best players, Antonio Brown, froze the bottom of his feet off because he didn't think his feet would freeze in a cryotherapy machine, even though every other human's does.
What a shock that you would pick a story that you had a hand in advancing and breaking as one of your stories. I'm stunned that you would do that.
Well, yes, I didn't mean to do that. It just is amazing nonetheless. And I gave credit to Pete Dimalitalitis, but it was really Matt Casey, I think, who sent that text. So sorry, Matt Casey.
Hey, let me tell you, if we're going to go that route with stories we had a hand in breaking, I'll go with the Vikings dumping Randy Moss in 2005. I didn't believe it when I first heard it may happen. People called me crazy and worse when I started writing about it at PFT. That was the only platform we had at the time. That was pre-radio, pre-podcast, pre-everything. And then ultimately, the Vikings dump Randy Moss onto the Raiders for a first-round pick, Napoleon Kaufman, and a seventh-round pick. I mean, one of the great receivers of all time. What are you doing? And he had a great season. That was the offseason after the 2 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers where he pretended to moon the crowd and rubbed his rear end against the goalpost. What a disgusting act, as Joe Buck said. They traded him after that season. It's not like his skills were slipping. It was amazing, and they didn't get nearly enough for him. So that one stunned me when it happened, Chris.
Yeah, that was a stunner. There's no doubt. All right, so give me some other ones on your list. I mean, I remember being shocked by Joe Montana, just the trade to the Chiefs, even though we kind of knew it was going to happen, that he was going to get traded and not be on the 49ers. It's still Joe Montana. And when you hear that news, I remember being shocked as a little kid. I remember also Herschel Walker, because I thought Herschel Walker at the time was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's what everybody was telling me. And what? The Cowboys traded him for an army of Vikings players. Holy cow. And draft picks and everything else. That to me was also on my outside of my list here, but still very shocking.
Herschel was on mine as well, and I meant to mention Herschel earlier when we were talking about workout options. You could always do the 1,500 push-ups per day for the off-season program and thousands of sit-ups per day. That was Herschel's routine. He never lifted weights. As a kid,
right,
when he would watch TV, when the commercials came on, he would do push-ups for the entire commercial break, and he got to the point where he's doing 1,500 per day. And so, you don't need all that fancy equipment. If you just have the will to put your hands flat on the ground and start bending your elbows, you can do more and more and more and more push-ups, and before you know it, you're built like Herschel Walker. But that was a stunner when they
You're not going to necessarily be built like Herschel Walker if you do that. Let's make sure we tell people.
If you would do 1,500 a day?
No, you don't. I don't care. most people still aren't going to be built like Herschel Walker. I don't care. You're saying they're going to be. He looks like a Greek god without his shirt off. Might help people get in shape and get stronger. You're not going to look like Herschel Walker.
He's the product of doing 1,500 a day. Day after day after day, month after month after month, year after year after year. So you need a time machine to take you back to when you were 10. What?
If you did 1,500 a day and you started when you were 10, you would never look like Herschel Walker at any point of your life.
I'd look better than Herschel Walker.
You look better than you look now, but not better than Herschel Walker.
A couple others before we take a break here. Remember when Donovan McNabb was dumped onto Washington Easter Sunday 2010? That was one of those, somebody's messing with us, because it was close to, it's Easter, so it's close to April 1. I'm thinking somebody's got a delayed or an early April Fool's gag. There's no way in hell Andy Reid is trading Donovan McNabb to Washington, but that's another one that sticks out. I judge these based upon those little moments burned into my brain where I exactly remember where I was when the news came down.
Yeah, OBJ to the Browns last year. I mean, when I first heard that, I was like, what? Is that real? The Browns? Really? That was a shocker. That jumped out to me. And even Bill Belichick quitting the Jets. That was another one. Again, the Jets are going to hire Bill Belichick. And then the very next day, he's quitting. I mean, that was kind of a shocker, too. Like, no, are you messing with me? Is he really quitting? That was a good one. I like this draft. This was a fun one.
Well, we'll have to remember to do it every April 1, assuming we're on next April 1 as well, because we'll forget all these, you'll forget all these, and we can do it all over again.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.